What is up, everyone? Welcome to Class G, all about sellers. Now, this is going to be a weird kind of homework session because if you have not done classes A or E yet, your homework is going to be a little bit easier, I suppose, but a little less accurate. So there's going to be a little bit of different dynamic as we go through, so bear with me on that. And this is going to be one of the longest, if not the longest, homework session. Sorry this is so long. It just is what it is. Okay, guys. So it's going to be usually about 30 minutes for this part, then homework, and then the meeting. So this is all about what the heck to do when you get a seller client. Now, the first thing to do when you get a seller client is walk through their home. Okay. When you first meet a seller, you're going to want to go through the property and more or less ask questions, try to connect. It's not just about like looking at the condition and figuring out exactly what the home is worth. You're trying to connect with people, right? You're trying to build a relationship. They want to work with someone who's a friend who they feel like they're in good hands with, right? So as they're showing you the home, which is what everyone wants to do first thing, ask questions. What type of countertops are those? How are the kids? Oh my God, you have two wiener dogs? You have baseball stuff. That's so exciting. My family loves baseball, whatever it is. Okay. But try to connect while you're going through and getting an idea of condition. Are there any big issues with the home that might mess up financing? Are there any big cracks? Any chipping paint? Any glaring issues like that? Now, as you walk through, people will ask you again all the time, like, should I fix stuff? In my personal opinion, you should fix cosmetic things that have a good return. For example, a leaky roof, not cosmetic, not good return. Because when people ask, when they do their inspection later, they're going to want to have things fixed. They're going to ask for a credit pretty much every time. So I would rather personally have them go through and go, hey, we want the roof replaced, or else we're not buying the house. You go, sweet, you check it off. Rather than you fix the roof and now they're going through and like, fix the AC now, right? Because they feel like they should still ask for something. So when we're giving the recommendations, we're typically looking at things that are glaring, that'll mess up the financing, or things that are big money return items. Money return items are going to be things they touch. We're talking doorknobs. We're talking any type of thing that they might touch going through a home. Typically, doorknobs are like door latches, maybe sinks, toilets, that type of stuff. And then we're talking cosmetic things. We're talking carpet, paint mostly. Return on kitchens are okay. Return on bathrooms are okay, right? If it's super outdated. If it's not super outdated, especially with the cost of everything right now, probably not worth doing. Okay. So walk through the home and chat with them and give them your opinion on what to do in the market and get to know them really well. Once you know them really well, you're going to need to do a couple things. First of all, a lot of the stuff won't make sense unless you can do a net sheet. So let's hop on over to our net sheet. Now, to do a net sheet, you're going to be counting on your title company. For me here in Lewis County, I love Lewis County Title. This is their tool. Okay. So I hop into their little estimator here. I calculate now, and I'm just going to fill it out. Nothing crazy here. You got to put in the address, the sales price, closing date of when you think it'll close, how much is on their existing mortgage. If you don't know, you can leave it blank, but the more you put in, the more accurate it will be. So a lot of people will be very eager to give you these numbers because they want to know exactly what their take home is going to be at the end. Uh, you're going to have a space for your compensation, and we'll talk about how to do that here in a minute. Seller concessions are going to be like, hey, I want 10,000 bucks for the roof or something like that. Homeowners association dues, it's going to depend on if you have HOAs or not. Property taxes, this is going to be kind of weird because it's going to ask if they've paid their taxes the last couple of years or not. You can look it up on county records if you want to pull it. Otherwise, leave it blank. And then, of course, any other expenses and credits. For example, I just helped my client have their whole yard landscaped, so I would ask for 1,000 extra bucks for that. Once you have all that in, you calculate it out, and then it'll give you a dollar amount. And if I look at one of my current escrows here, for this home, it's a $440,000 sales price, and their net is $361,000, at least with all the information in. So this is a really important thing to do. It's very easy to overlook. If you need help setting this up, let me know, or more importantly, let your title rep know. Angie at Lewis County Title is my go-to. But if you need help, let me know. This is going to be one of the most important tools for your sellers, though. This is the thing they really want to know is their final net number. Now, once we get away from that, let's say the presentation went really good and we're showing them value, okay? Now, every presentation is going to go a little different. Every person does it a little different. Let me get rid of this really quick. So for me personally, at listing presentations, I bring a 3-ring binder that has all of the comps in it, along with stuff about me and any information I feel like they need to help sell their home. Now, I've upgraded since I was doing really basic things. Now you can make that little binder with KV Core, which is what I recommend. Make the printable PDF version. Put all of your personal info in there. Everything you want them to know has a lot of great pages. As you level up, you can add things. Like I oftentimes put in a marketing book that I have on just all of my marketing. Maybe some flyers that are really high quality. Anything you can do to really impress people. Now, that being said, I know a ton of realtors who at listing presentations show up with nothing and go, I'm a great realtor, hire me. And it works great for them. So you don't have to go overboard. So whatever your comfort level is in terms of your presentation and representing yourself. Now, once they say, heck yeah, I love this, I want to hire you, what are you going to do? Well, we've got to get 2 main forms filled. The first thing we got to do is we have to get form 1A filled out. Now, this form is relatively simple, but you need to read the entire thing. I really must insist that every single mentee reads over this entire form because at some point, someone's going to ask you, what the heck does cancellation without legal cause mean? And if you haven't read this, you don't know what it means, and you sit there going, they're going to know you don't know what you're talking about, okay? So you need to read over this form in detail. But in general, you've got your and on top of that too, there's the state meetings that go over these forms. Please, 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 please go to the state meetings, learn the forms. The brokers will teach you these forms in more detail than I will, okay? And they teach it better. They're managing brokers, okay? So basically the top here is all the basic contact info, who everyone is, where everything is. The term is going to be the listing term. I highly recommend 90 days is typically the standard. But again, standard doesn't mean every time. You can do more or less. In terms of agency, that's your brokerage. Dual agency is always really dicey. Again, talk to your brokers about their opinions on it. But when you do dual agency, you cannot represent either client as good as if you have a single person you're representing. So this is just discussing if you're going to do dual agency or not. Now, list date, one of the big things here to keep in mind is you can only have a 90-day window, okay? If you're going to list the home in 91 days, don't do this form. You have to do a separate form, okay? But most of the time when people want to list, they want to go right now. My strong recommendation is they give you at least 7 to 10 days for you to get photos and get everything live. What I want you guys to keep in mind is that Zillow is very unforgiving and buggy, okay? So if you put your listing live with no photos and then you're going to fix it later, sometimes they update right, sometimes they don't, okay? So be super mindful of making sure that the first time you go live, you're doing it right the first time. Fair housing rules, compensation rules. In terms of compensation, everything's negotiable, right? Nothing in real estate is concrete and one size fits all. Typically, I've seen listing compensation anywhere from 1% to 4%, depends on what you're doing, what you're providing. Now, what I want you guys to keep in mind when you are doing a listing, anyone in the world can hire Redfin or some other super cheap firm, right? You can list for sale by owner or list with the discount brokerages that slap you on the MLS and don't even really represent you. So, the game here is not to be the cheapest. The game here is to be the best. So don't necessarily talk yourself up and like, oh, you'll never sell the house without me. Of course, everyone can sell their house without you. But also don't count yourself short, right? If we do all of our marketing and all of our stuff the way that we're supposed to, we'll bring our clients a lot more money than if they try it themselves. In fact, most for sale by owners that I follow, roughly 70 to 80% of them cancel their for sale by owner. roughly, and of the ones that sell, most of them sell about 70% of what I believe they should sell for. Now, whether that means they're faking numbers or not, I don't know. But according to title and according to county records, they sell for on average about 70% of what I believe they should sell for. So, you want to provide your value. We're going to make your life easier. We're going to make you more money. We're going to do great marketing. We're going to make sure you can relax, right? So, in this section, really emphasize your value and think about what value you are bringing to your clients. Buyer brokerage firm compensation is a hot topic right now because of that whole NAR lawsuit. Almost everyone's heard of it. Most sellers have heard of it and are wondering if they can save some money. And they can, right? We've got three boxes. You can offer compensation, you can ask people to request compensation on the offer, or you can just say you're not offering any compensation to buyer's agents at all. Now, what I will say is that the vast majority of people are offering compensation for buyers between 2 and 2.5%, because just statistically, when you offer that, you net more money at the end. And that's what this is all about, right? We're about netting the most money at the end, not necessarily selling your house for the most. It's about going home at the end of the day with the most money. So when you offer buyers compensation, rather, they call it seller's offer of compensation. When you offer buyers compensation, the offers will typically be higher because they don't have to worry about paying their agent at the close of escrow. So they've got more money and more resources to do things. And some buyers just don't even want to work with sellers that aren't offering compensation. And if you're really unlucky, if you're not offering compensation, you've got to think about how buyers are buying leads, right? Or buyers agents are buying leads. They're paying Zillow, they're paying Realtor.com, they're paying Facebook. And so they want to make sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck in terms of getting their money back. So if you don't offer compensation, the house won't get shown as much. So whenever possible, try to explain the value to your clients, and 2 to 2.5% is what I would typically recommend. For most forms, if it says if not filled in parentheses, leave it alone. 180 days is fine. And again, authorized if not filled in, shall if not filled in, shall if not filled in is all perfect, right? Now, of course, read all of this, make sure that fits for your clients. This is specifically in regards to key boxes and showings. So you can, of course, check different boxes and do things different ways. So again, please read over all of this. And this box down here is one of the most important ones. Damages in the event of buyer's breach. So if the buyer, for whatever reason, dips midway through escrow and does not and forfeits their earnest money, then this says whether the whole amount is retained by the seller or if it is split between the seller and the firm. I typically recommend splitting between seller and firm whenever you can, because you're going to probably need to do another marketing blast. So let's say you have a $4,000, $5,000 earnest money deposit and you get, 2.5 of that. That gives you some marketing money. So I really like that box a lot. And other is for any other stuff that you want to fill in. This is always a dangerous box though, because you're not a lawyer, right? So make sure you're wording things properly, or ask a broker or ask me before you start filling out stuff on here. Most commonly I'll put on here like seller to pay for lawn services while they're away or something like that, if I'm covering something like that. And then once you get this done, the other part that you will need is the disclosures. Now, in a real talk here for a second, stop sharing. You need to have the disclosures done before an offer is accepted, but you don't need to have the disclosures done on day 0. It's good if you can, but I've had a lot of situations where I'm like, hey, fill out the listing agreement, we're good to go, and then I circle back to other forms later, okay? But the disclosures are important. They are mandatory to give to the buyers. Typically, I think it's between 2 and 3 days after acceptance of an offer. So we do have to get them done. Now, the problem with the disclosures is that they're a really overwhelming page, okay? So let me go back to my forms really quick and let me find my seller disclosure. Where's my disclosure? Here we go. For an improved property, that's fine. New standalone form, and then we'll share here again. Sure. So the disclosures are kind of overwhelming. The entire thing has to be filled out by your seller, really without your help. You should not be checking these boxes for them. You can get yourself into trouble, okay? So you basically have to give them this. And if you look at it, it's a lot. And sometimes people get really upset because they don't know. Don't know is a perfectly acceptable box to check. Not applicable is a perfectly acceptable box to check, right? So you do want to go through this whole thing and make sure it's all checked. But what I genuinely prefer is we have SkySlope through our brokerage, and SkySlope has a thing called Breeze. Okay, when you get into it, this is basically Breeze, and you can start a new disclosure. You put in the address, and what it will basically do is ask them one question at a time for the disclosures. So it doesn't feel overwhelming because it's just one question. And a lot of times the questions will be like, has the roof ever leaked? And it's like, no. And then it skips over a whole bunch of questions because it's already said no. So it'll fill in stuff and skip stuff and it makes your client's life way easier. I really, really love this platform for the disclosures. I feel like it's better for everybody, but you can do it however you like. If you want to do it on the disclosure form, that's great. I also recommend if you are going to do disclosures, unfortunately, get them signed in person. If you're going to do the normal MLS form, having your client click through the form on the MLS is a pain in the butt, and it's caused problems for me before. So signing it in person is oftentimes a little bit easier. Okay, so the next part of the class is going to be on presenting an offer. Now, if you have done classes A and class E, you're going to do a little bit more on this in terms of like actually writing an offer for practice and then going over a real offer. If you have done those classes as well, make sure you're making a CMA with it because again, we want to try to treat this like a real listing presentation where we can say like, here's what the properties are like and here's a real offer. And make the offer a little messy. Don't make it super clean. Let's talk about the differences between, VA and FHA and all of the different types of loans when we get together and talk. Let's talk about, fast closings versus slow closings and when people can do that, rent backs, all that type of stuff. Okay, guys? So make some creative offers. On that same note, if you have not done those classes, that's okay. Pull the property off of Zillow, use the Zillow comps, and use Zillow's valuation, and we'll go from there. And I think we'll have relatively the same time. So when we get together, what you guys are going to be doing is presenting all of these things to me, and I'm going to act like a pain in the butt seller that doesn't really want to sell and that will fight you on all of these things, right? And like ask you a lot of questions and really put you through ringers that I've experienced before so that you can experience it for the first time with me rather than experiencing it for the first time with a client and then watching your commission fly away, right? Let's see. I'm still sharing the screen. We can stop doing that for now. Now, let's talk for a second about open houses. Open houses are a great way to generate leads, and they're also a great way to waste time. Okay. So if you have an old open house that's been on the market for 8 weeks and nothing's happening, and you don't put up any signs, you don't put any energy into it, it's not worth anything. Okay. It's going to be a complete waste of your time. Open houses work because you market them. So let's say, for example, we have a listing right down here on Alfred Street. Alfred Street's gonna be a little harder. Let's put it on this street, on First Street. We want to, at minimum, put one open house sign in front of the house. So anyone driving by, walking by, will see it and they'll come in. If we're ambitious, we'll also put one coming from the freeway. Most people will be coming down this road to get to the house. So let's put one open house sign here pointing this way. If we're really ambitious, let's put one over here on the freeway ramp, right? Saying, hey, open house this way, and then one open house this way, right? The more signs in major crossroads that you have directing people to your home, the more people will walk in. The more people that walk in, the more likely you are to get business and to have a successful and fruitful open house. Now, what do we do with people once they come in? Open houses' goals are, first of all, to sell the house, kind of, if you're the listing agent. But if we're being real, if the listing agent sells the house, it does you no good if you're not the listing agent, right? So if you're the listing agent, you want as many people in to generate buyer leads and to sell the house. But if you're doing it for someone else, your whole mission is to get buyer leads, to generate new buyers into the market, and maybe they'll buy this house. But if not, you would help them buy whatever other house it is that they want to buy. And people that are coming into open houses maybe have an agent that's too busy. That's one big category. Or they have no agent and they have no interest in having an agent. So these are not super easy leads, okay? But they are leads. So when people come in, some people set up a sign-in sheet. I have found that if you're going to do a sign-in sheet, you have to be really careful with it, because people are going to write in the most chicken scratch, no, I don't want to fill out forms ever. I don't find them super fruitful, but some people love them and do really well with them. Um, on the other hand, you can go without. And with everything that we're doing from here on, talking about open houses, you don't have to do it. It's all going to be just depending on your style. The whole mission of the open house is to talk to someone, connect with them, make them like you and trust you, and hopefully hire you, right? So anything you can do to slow people down, get them asking questions, getting them to talk to you is the whole game, okay? So what we don't want to do is bother people so that they don't like you and think you're too pushy. And we also don't want to say nothing and have the person walk in the house and walk out the house and generate no leads. So what I like to do personally, I love to have coffee and cookies in the home. I typically get either Starbucks or wherever else they have, like for $20, one of those big cases of coffee. It helps the house smell better a lot of the time. Or if you're really ambitious, you can bake cookies in the house, make it extra smell extra good inside the home. But you want to have something there that is like treats, drinks, whatever else that people can slow down. Other things you might want to bring is like, hey, stuff to clean in case someone spills something. Toilet paper is always good to bring, right? But anything you need for people to be able to slow down, make themselves at home, enjoy the property, okay? As a side note on this, one of my funniest stories ever, I had a guy look at something like 18, 20 homes. And one of the last homes we were looking at, he took a break and had to use the restroom. So he closes the door, and it was this enormous, like 4,000 square foot home, one story, hardwood floors throughout. And every fart the poor guy made echoed through the entire property. Okay. Everyone stepped outside. We're all kind of embarrassed. And, he came out, he thought the house was fine. And then he ended up wanting to buy the house. Okay. So statistically, in my experience, if people stop and enjoy the home, especially if they use the bathroom, especially if they take a minute to eat a cookie, anything like that, their odds of offering on the home goes up a tremendous amount. Their odds of liking you goes up a tremendous amount. So, don't be afraid to let people use the home at the open house, but do bring things to clean up in case life happens, right? Now, in terms of things you can do to slow people down, coffee, cookies, waters are easy, awesome. Bring some music. If you can bring like a big Bluetooth speaker to kind of make the vibe there kind of chill, helps a lot. If you can set out anything with interesting information, whether that's flyers or booklets or whatever, I usually put up like display. I don't know what it's called. It's like a plastic display thing. You can buy them at Staples, and put a piece of paper in there with like what rates are like right now, or what the market's like right now, or common questions. That helps a lot. Another thing you can do is make a list of all of the other homes. For example, you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in Chehalis. If you can print out a list of all the 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms also in Chehalis, so that when someone comes in and goes, I don't like this house, we're out of here, you go, oh, but wait, is there another house you help you find? Do any of these match what you like? If they stop and they start conversing with you and exchanging information and chatting with you, that is how you make the money. Okay, that is what you've got to do. That is your mission, is to connect with people. If you're not connecting with people at open houses, there's no point to doing them. Okay. So anything you can do to slow people down and make you feel like they're at home. And of course, before people leave, you should always ask them, hey, what'd you think about the home? And write down all the feedback. If it's for your clients, that's fine. If it's for someone else's clients, even better. But it's also, again, an excuse for them to be like, oh, well, I like this house, but that yard just is no good. You go, awesome. So if we found you a home with another yard, would you be interested? I have a couple right here that might fit what you need, right? So again, anything you can do to slow them down and have a good conversation and connect is the entire mission. So that's it for this class for now. When we go and we do the homework together at the next meeting, again, we're going to be going over your listing presentations, your listing agreements, your offers, and I'm going to be the most curmudgeon-y, frustrating seller you've ever had. Okay, so come prepared. Be ready to present some stuff to me, and we'll role play all together, and we'll see. How you guys handle difficult listings and difficult clients. So if you guys have any questions, you know what to do. Reach out to me, and I'll see you guys at homework time.